I'm Jordan Hatfield. This is Faster Film Critic. Today on the show, we talk Mickey 17 with Kolter, Chase Fugel, and Eric Wood. Mickey 17 is a 2025 sci-fi comedy directed by Bong Joon Ho, starring Robert Pattinson, Stephen Yeun, Naomi Ackie, Mark Ruffalo, Robert Pattinson 17, Toni Collette, and Robert Pattinson 18. So throw on your pigeon costume and get in. We are going cinephiling. Eric, welcome back to the pod. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, man. Happy to be here.
How's everybody doing?
Hey, what's going on, Eric? What's going on, gang?
You guys ready to talk Mickey 17?
Sure. Let's do it.
So I got to tell you guys, this movie was delayed multiple times.
Yeah.
It was originally scheduled for March of 2024, then got moved to January 2025, and then it got moved around a bunch after that. And that's usually not a good sign. It hurt my confidence going into this film.
Yeah. Those damn strikes.
But when the time finally came to see this movie, I was excited.
Yeah, same.
I was excited.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
Are you guys big Parasite fans?
Respect the movie, hate the way it made me feel at the end.
I loved it.
So that's a conversation we need to have at another time.
Yeah, for sure.
I can talk Parasite and Mickey 17 all day. I think there's a lot to break down, and I think that there is a lot of storytelling that is masterfully put together.
Yeah, for sure. Well said. A lot of originality.
Have you guys seen other Bong Joon Ho films?
Yeah. Oh, yes, sir.
So what's your favorite Ho film?
I like different movies from different times, different moods, but I was I was really impressed with The Host when I first saw it.
Oh, I didn't know that was Bong Joon Ho.
Yeah, I didn't either. My brother and I were looking at his movies on the way home, like, hey, what else did we do? We knew Parasite, we knew a couple of them, we knew Snowpiercer, and then we had a hunch that The Host was his. We weren't sure, but yeah, that was a really cool, good monster movies are few and far between. That was one of the better ones. It was great characters, great creature design. It's cool.
I'm going to have to revisit The Host. It's been a little while since I've seen it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually not as versed in Bong. I've seen, of course, Snowpiercer and Parasite. I feel like I've started Memories of Murder. I know I have started that several times.
Memories of Murder's great. That's one of my favorite Bong Joon Ho films. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. But it's funny, most of his movies have heavy, dark, thrilling aspect to them.
Oh, yeah.
And Mickey 17 didn't.
You didn't think so?
I mean, not like Memories of Murder or Parasite. Those films were really dark.
No dark, no thrilling? Killing 17 Mickeys didn't work for you?
I mean, it's no Disney film, but it's all lighter. Mickey 17 is very comedic in tone.
That's true.
Sure.
It felt like Bong Joon Ho really exited stage left from the thriller genre and entered stage right into comedy in this film.
Okay.
I think there's comedic elements in a lot of his stuff. Like there's some funny elements to Parasite even.
Dude, I had a blast with this. I love that this was a little bit lighter and kind of. I struggle to come up with a term that captures the kind of energy of this movie, but I think it's always great when somebody goes out, they win an Oscar, then they're kind of like, you know what, I'm going to do what I want to do now, and what I want to do is Mickey 17, which is an adaptation from a book called Mickey 7. I have no idea how closely this movie follows that book, but I could feel that he had a good time making this movie, and because of that, so did I. I had a good time watching it.
I have not read the book by Edward Ashton, but I hear that it is quite different.
Okay.
I would like to read it. I hear that it's different. I want to ask you guys, going into this film, I was really afraid that the trailer gave away too much.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, coming out of the film, I feel like the trailer gave away too much.
I would agree.
I naturally kind of stay away from him, like to an extent. I think I might, like they get on the radar with the trailer. Like I'm thinking case in point, like 28 years later. Like I saw that one, excited, buzz is cool. I think when the first one came out for Mickey 17, it was like a scene, a shot, some cinematography from it, I like that. But I haven't followed like trailer 2, trailer 3 as they drop and they get longer and they expose more.
It's tough, man. Like I do watch trailers especially for movies that I'm really excited to see. Like I want to know does this seem like something I want to invest my time in? It's double-edged, as with this, Jordan, to your point. Yeah, it gave away way too much. I think that some of those surprises would have been a lot more fun seeing them in the moment. But again, I have a hard time staying away from trailers about movies that I'm excited to see. Yeah. Sometimes it kind of backfires,
What did it give away?
Well, for one, the whole multiple idea. I mean, we knew from the trailer that Mickey was an expendable. We didn't know why or what that meant, but we knew that he would die and then be reprinted. We knew that from the trailer, but the idea of two of them existing at once should have been a surprise left for the first viewing experience.
Yeah, that was like the twist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I agree completely. Even when I saw the trailer, I thought that. I was like, dang, I know a little too much now.
The expendable part's
That's
fine.
fair.
That's the hook. There are a lot of surprises that are still left in the movie that weren't shown in the trailer, but, that's one of the
True.
bigger things
Yes.
that kind of gets spoiled.
Well, let's dive into the movie itself, guys. What did you
Yeah.
think of Mickey 17?
It's not the most easy movie to talk about. I can say that I had a great time, number one. It's an interesting movie. Everything in this movie is really dialed up. Some of the characters worked really well. Some of them kind of didn't. It's always great to see very well thought out physical sets. The cinematography is amazing. I think the director had a lot of fun bringing this movie to life. Some things that didn't work and some things that really, really did. And overall, I think the stuff that worked overpowered the stuff that didn't for me. But all in all, man, I'll take a story that's original. It knows what it's trying to do and competently directed any day. I'd love seeing movies that are kind of like this. I don't think we get enough of them these days. So I'm always a little bit more lenient when somebody takes a big swing and puts out something that's a little bit different. I think this definitely qualifies as that.
I agree completely. I liked what you said about the characters being dialed up a lot.
Yeah.
Some of it worked. Some of them were so crazy. I didn't know how to feel. Even at the start, I didn't know how to feel about Mickey.
Yeah.
He was a little too quirky for me, but as the movie went on, I came to like him more and more.
Yeah.
And it worked
Well
for
said.
me.
Yeah, I agree completely with that.
It was interesting to see Bong Joon Ho do these kind of, maybe not so subtle with this movie, but like in Parasite, how he had a lot of commentary about other stuff outside of movies and all that. And he did that with this one, and also comedy,
Yeah.
which was pretty cool. I mean, I thought it was a fun time and a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the film. I thought Robert Pattinson was absolutely fantastic, particularly his portrayal of Mickey 17 and Mickey 18 and the differences between those two. I know in interviews he said that he used Ren and Stimpy as inspiration for both his voices
fascinating.
for these characters and the way he portrayed them. Ren is a little bit more diabolical. That would be Mickey 18. And Stimpy's a little more naive. That would be Mickey 17. I thought that was really funny.
That's kind of brilliant. It never would have dawned on me,
Right?
but now that you said it, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And I thought he was amazing. I thought he was really, really good in this film.
Yeah.
I would say the strongest point of this film is the aesthetic.
Yes.
This film is beautiful.
Oh,
Bong
yeah.
Joon Ho is amazing at creating films that are picture-esque.
Yeah.
Every single frame is just beautiful.
Yeah.
It's shot wonderfully.
Oh, yeah.
I love that about the film. As far as the characters go, I think some of the characters were a little bit too simple.
Yeah.
Very one-dimensional in a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
I think the intent behind that was to bring some comedic relief. I mean, Nasha, her main drive in this movie is wanting sex.
Yeah.
And Yelfa's main thing is sauce. She's just obsessed with sauce. And I think it's just a little silly. Overall, I think the film is a little too self-indulgent.
Yeah.
It's silly, but it's also kind of messy.
Yeah.
And I think that is the problem that I had with it.
Huh.
I felt like it needed a little tighter script. I felt like it needed a little bit more time in the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Cut out some of these side plots that were entirely unnecessary.
Yeah.
And I think we would have had a much better movie. But I do like the tone, the comedic tone of the film.
Yeah.
And I did have a good time.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I will say I think I really enjoyed it. Like I had a good time with it, and I think that the way Bong worked with Darius Honji, like we were talking about on cinematography, was fantastic. I thought the production design elements were great, whether it was setting, whether it was the creepers. I thought there was just a lot of fun there. And then acting's already been mentioned with Jordan talking about Robert Pattinson. I thought he was really pitch perfect in a fun and different, unique way in this kind of multiple universe.
There is something about Mickey 17 that I really appreciate and I want to highlight. And that is too frequently in film, the main character or even a side character will take a position on something, and then later in the film, they will change their position, and the writers fail to sufficiently explain why. And this drives me crazy. This is bad character writing, takes me right out of the film. I do not like it. There were a couple times in Mickey 17 where I thought Bong Joon Ho was going that direction, and I thought, his characters are making a significant shift somewhere, and there isn't an explanation as to why. Every single time, Bong Joon Ho came back and explained that in great detail. He did so intelligently, and I really appreciate that. Let me give you one example.
Yeah.
Mickey 1, Mickey 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to Mickey 17 doesn't seem to mind dying. He's fine.
Yeah.
Throw me in the fire pit. Not a big deal. I'll be back tomorrow, right? Catch you guys later. And then Mickey 18 comes along, and all of a sudden, Mickey 17 is terrified to die.
Right.
And initially, I was like, okay, why the change? And then he goes back and he explains why. And it's brief, but he explains, look, I've never feared dying because I know I'm always going to be back. But now that we're multiples, I won't be back, and I'll really be dying.
Right.
This may seem small, but too frequently writers fail to explain paradigm shifts or positional changes within their characters, and it drives me crazy. I appreciate it about this film. Another example is why Mickey wanted to be an expendable in the first place. You know, that backstory.
Right.
Loved all that. So I think a lot of the writing elements here are awesome. They're fantastic. They're fun. They're engaging. They're exciting. And they're funny.
Yeah.
However, there are too many writing elements of the film that are never flushed out.
Yep.
That are never fully explained, that are just left wide open. And I think it just weighs the film down. You cut some of this stuff out, like, for example, the oxyzofil, the drug.
Yeah.
Like, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
You cut that out and you don't have the movie. It propelled so much. All the
The oxyzofil?
characters, motivation. Yeah. That was like a big plot point.
You think so?
I think so.
Tell me how you think the story was propelled forward by the drug dealing.
Particularly the scene that I think about is when they're when Mickey 17, 18, and Nasha are all trapped in those little cubes or whatever, and Timo comes in and he's like, dude, this guy's gonna kill me. I need to do this. I need to kill you. I need to chop you up into 18 little bits and all this. And then all that was happening, and they were able to use the drug thing as leverage. I thought it was really important, and I liked it too.
Yeah, I just fail to see how it drives the narrative forward. I think it's one of these unnecessary side plot points that could have easily been written out. I hear what you're saying. These gangsters have found Timo, and they're threatening him. They're manipulating him to try and chop up Mickey into 18 different parts. But, you know, it's not like he was selling these drugs to pay the gangsters back. I mean, there's easier ways to explain that situation, and it would have led to a tighter script, in my opinion. I just fail to see how it's important.
To me, I think that the friendship part was on display there as well. Like, that was almost a shift in boundaries. This guy I thought was my friend, one of my only friends, before I started having sex with the girl I fell in love with, but he's now treating me poorly.
You know, you bring up sex. Another thing is Kenneth Marshall and Yelfa institute this no sex policy because it just burns important calories.
Extra calories, yeah.
Yeah.
Which was really funny, but then there's no follow-up on that.
No.
I didn't think there
I
needed
felt like there
to
was
be,
some
though.
subtle follow-up on it.
But through the rest of the movie, Nasha's trying to have sex with Mickey 17 and Mickey 18. The sauce thing, although funny,
Yeah.
again, like, where did that come from and why is that important? Or the dream sequence at the end, when Mickey 17 has the dream sequence where now it's Kenneth Marshall who's being reprinted. Like, some of these, the movie just felt too long, and some of these plot points, I think, were there for comedy.
Yeah.
But they didn't drive the story forward, and it just left me feeling like there was just a bit of a pacing issue.
Yeah.
I loved the dream sequence at the end. I thought that was great.
I liked it as well.
It was these parasitic, power-hungry dictators are always going to come back looking the same every time. History's going to repeat itself.
You can definitely make an argument that the third act goes on for a little bit too long, but so I would agree with that point. I don't know that I would agree with. So the aspect of sex and stuff is, it's maybe loosely wrapped, but it's a little bit of a setup for what happens later with the payoff. And, you know, Nasha and Mickey are kind of making all these, you know, sexual positions, and that comes into play later when the, you know, bring the baby kind of thing, which was one of the titles of one of the sexual positions they'd use. That's really the only purpose, I think, of that whole setup. So it's a little weak. And I would also argue, like, characters like Kai are also a little weak. She finds out that they're using this drug. You know, it seems like a setup that some kind of power dynamic or conflict that's going to get created that just kind of goes nowhere. You know, there's a confrontation between Kai and Nasha, and then, you know, you're kind of waiting for a follow-up on that, and that never really happens.
And to clarify, I recognize that the sex thing had an important part in the story.
Yeah.
And I thought it was funny, you know, Nasha all of a sudden getting excited about having a threesome with her boyfriend. Like, that made me laugh. I thought that was funny. But why hey, no more sex on the ship? Like, we're instituting a no sex policy. If that aspect isn't ever followed through, it's just an empty saying. And it was funny. It made me laugh. But I was just using that as an example of many times in this film, I think there are these setups or these side plot points that don't drive the story forward.
They don't.
And are often just abandoned, and there was too many of them.
Yeah.
Couple that with a movie that's 2 hours and 20 minutes, and to me had some pacing issues. I feel like you clean some of that up, and you've got a tighter movie and a more enjoyable movie.
See, I had no problem with the pace.
I had no problem with the pace either.
The thing that I don't know that's been mentioned that I feel like the sex integrated in the editing and integrated into the power-hungry Ruffalo and Colette taking control. And I felt like they're hollow characters, right? They love their sauces, they love power, but they love being manipulated and told by other people what to do and how to demonstrate that power. I feel like they tried to control everything down to when you have sex, and then you have Mickey 17 experiencing real friendship and real connection with someone, authenticity, intercut between that to show the difference. And so that, to me, worked really well.
I'm kind of with you, Eric. I liked everything about the pacing and the way that it was all set up. But the sex thing in particular, I didn't have a problem with it. I saw it as like a satirical stab at government overreach.
Yeah.
It almost felt like it was, I'm going to orchestrate everything on this ship. You will worship me. You will have sex when I tell you can have sex. And then it'll be a celebration, and I will allow you to have as much sex as you want. And
it was funny.
It was funny several times.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the roly-poly puppy creatures?
I like the roly-poly puppy creatures.
I mean,
I love them.
Yeah. I think they were well realized. The effects for these kinds of things, they really do matter. You develop a sense of sympathy for the ones that are captured and /tortured, and there's an interesting connection in the movie where all these, pill bug creepers kind of push Mickey 17 out of the hole, and he takes it as a sign of rejection when they're trying to kind of help him. So it added an interesting dynamic to the movie. It's hard to do something like that and have it tie into the plights of the characters and, whether they're kind of thinly realized or more fully fleshed like Mickey and some of the stronger supporting characters. But I thought it worked really well.
I was both terrified and I desired one at the same time. I searched. Right. You can check my search history right now, Jordan.
Yeah.
I looked for where I find a plush version of the baby one.
I really liked the creatures too. I thought they were great. But the one aspect that I did not like is the way that they were able to communicate.
Huh, okay.
I thought it was kind of weird.
It was just too weird, too silly. I would
have liked more had it been connected a little bit tighter, but
you're talking about the actual physical translator?
It appears as though Mickey 17 is able to communicate with them before the translator comes.
I couldn't tell if that was played for laughs or not. Like, they're kind of making these weird sounds to each other.
I thought they were messing around, and I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But then we go full Disney's up, and we provide a little translator for Mickey 17 so that he can communicate with these characters. And I was like, guys, that's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Right? Am I wrong there?
I'm up. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think they play it for, I think it's the humor aspect. Obviously, this movie's leaning into that more than his others. And then what else do you do? How else do you kind of...
I mean, I don't know that you need a translator to communicate with animals. I have a dog and 2 cats.
Sure.
I do not speak their language.
You can hear animals?
They don't speak my language, and yet we are often able to communicate.
Sure.
Right?
I'm not a pet guy.
I mean, if you've got a dog, you know that you are able to communicate with your dog.
Yeah.
You know often exactly what your dog wants, is thinking. Your dog, when your dog gets excited about something, when your dog is sad by something, and your dog often feeds off your emotions and knows what. There is a lot of that with animals, right? I don't need a translator. Why did we give them a translator?
I don't know.
Was it for comedy maybe? But it was just another aspect that just... Actually, wait a second. I need to clarify. I'm not a crazy cat lady. I know I can't have detailed conversations with my pets, but I don't think they needed to have detailed conversations with these animals either, and it just felt too silly for me.
Okay. All right.
But I want to ask you guys another question. Did the Parasite house make a cameo in this film?
It did look like there was a shot that showed something very similar.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the Parasite house. And I am not 100% certain, but it sure looked like it. Did you guys see that? You know what I'm talking about?
I didn't see that. Where was it?
Was it with the doctor, the serial killer doctor, or the guy who killed homeless people? Was that it?
Oh. The doctor that killed homeless people. There was a flashback.
Right.
where he was
Yeah.
at his house, right?
Yeah.
And he was a
Yeah.
multiple and he was killing people.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, guys, the house from Parasite made a cameo in this film.
You're
I don't
probably
know,
right. Yeah. I mean,
but
That-
it made me think of Parasite for sure. It felt like a tie back to Parasite.
it went right over my head if that's the case. But yeah, it's a good observation. Could very well be.
I could be wrong, but that's definitely what it made me think about. Ooh, I got another question.
Yeah, yeah.
Can someone please explain the pigeon costume?
Oh, dude.
I
No. Is the answer.
Why was this guy in a pigeon costume the whole movie? I
mean,
don't know.
There's got to be some theme. I'll tell you one of the things that bothered me. And it didn't bother me because of any political affiliation. I want to be very clear. I hate politics. I don't watch the news. It is of no interest to me.
Good for you, man. Skip the news, go to movies.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a much better experience every time, all the time. The not so thinly veiled MAGA hats and the Trump-esque depiction of Marshall's character. It's odd for a Korean director to kind of tap into that. So it's funny because I was like, I don't know how well that worked, or if it doesn't bother me because, again, of any political affiliation. It just seems kind of oddly contemporary for a movie based in the future and an odd reference. It doesn't seem necessary. I think a character like Marshall could have stood on its own without the references. And it takes me out. I think that's the most important thing, is it takes me out of like that world for a minute. And I'm like, I don't want to see such a blatant reference because
The hair and the teeth and the dance. I mean, it
Yeah.
was very clearly Trump. It was
Yeah.
very clearly Trump.
yeah, and it just
It was funny. It was
he
pretty
wasn't
funny.
strong enough. He wasn't particularly like intimidating, or between him and the Sauce Meister, it was just kind of it was an odd choice. But I
It's funny because I've pointed to some of these things from a critical perspective.
Yeah.
And I've gotten some pushback from you guys. And now it's my turn to be positive. I thought it was funny.
okay.
In the trailer, I saw Mark Ruffalo and I was like, uh-oh, he's not working for me in the trailer. But in the movie, I thought he was absolutely hilarious. That aspect of the film made me laugh all the way through. It was a plot point that I really enjoyed. I did think that Toni Collette was greatly underused. She is a fantastic actress.
She is.
And she was just so simple here.
Yeah.
And
Kind of
I
one
felt
note.
like, wow, to have so much talent in your film,
Yeah.
in Toni Collette in this character, and
Yeah.
then just not utilize it, I think was a mistake.
Yeah. Going back to that pigeon thing, I guess that's got to be some kind of metaphor, analogy for something. But I don't know. I mean, that guy literally was in that pigeon suit for the rest of the movie. I couldn't figure out
yeah.
The entire movie.
what the hell. What
Yeah.
why? What? Whatever.
What did you guys think of the food scene? Did
Oh, the
anything stand out to you?
dinner?
For me, that was one of the scenes that stood out. Yeah, the dinner.
Yeah, sure.
When 17's trying to
yeah.
get back there. And
Yeah. Bong Joon Ho kind of excels at bringing chaos to the screen with a mix of dark humor and violence, and that scene obviously was very chaotic. It was weird enough. He's eating this disgustingly obvious fake meat, and he's just shoveling it in his face. It induces a queasiness just watching him do that. And the two of them are trying to have a conversation with him. And then Kai comes in and it kind of changes the dynamic of the scene. And then, of course, he gets violently ill. And then they try to fix him with a product that, they never can seem to perfect.
Yeah, great scene for sure. But guys, it's time to rate this film 1 to 5. Tell me what you got.
I had a great time. There were, like we said, some subtle parts, some not subtle parts, but also some great things to say with some humor behind it too. I thought it was entertaining the whole way through. I was really impressed. It still has me thinking. I'm going 4.5 on this movie. I thought it was great.
Dude, I love it when we get original, creative movies like this. It's singularly driven, and kind of reminds me of The Monkey in the sense that the audience has to sort things out. I like that. I enjoy movies where it's like, you figure it out. It took me a minute to figure out what the theme of this movie was until I figured out, well, the core of the story kind of really revolves around the search for identity. Some characters don't have a lot of nuance to them. Some of them do. I think it's an audacious movie with really big ideas. Not all of them work, and there's some straying here and there, but the moments of humor really worked for me. All in all, I think the originality overpowers any nitpicks that I have, and I'm gonna land right where Chase is at 4.5. Really thought it was a great movie.
I went with a 4 for sure. And then, it could bump up. I've got to settle with it. And I almost went to it last night just to see it again. But
Yeah.
I think far too often artists don't have the freedom or the ability to bring their creative ideas to fruition. And this is something we talk about often in cinema. You've got rich businessmen or production companies or studios that get involved and force directors to make changes to their ideas, to their film. I do not like this. This is bad.
Preach.
I'm all for artists having the freedom and the ability to create their art. However, there are times that artists become emotionally attached to elements of their artwork that don't elevate the art, and it can drag it down. And in these situations, it is valuable to have a team, a trusted team, that can say, let's cut this, let's cut that. And I do think that Mickey 17 is an example of the latter. I think this film needed a tighter script. Bong Joon Ho had complete creative control and final say. I think this is an example of when that can hurt a film. I ultimately feel like this film was messy. I feel like it was 20 minutes too long, and if they would have taken a little extra time and care trimming off the fat, I think that would have led to a better overall experience. I did like this film. I loved the tone of this film. I had a good time in it. I'm going to come in at 3 stars, and please, let us know what you thought of Mickey 17.
If you enjoy character-driven, thoughtful science fiction that is well realized and competently directed, 2009's Moon might be the perfect companion piece to Mickey 17. Directed by David Bowie's son, that's right, David Bowie's son, Duncan Jones, in his debut film. It follows the story of Sam Bell, played by the always awesome Sam Rockwell, as he navigates his 3-year contract overseeing mining operations on the moon. It shares many of the themes and ideas of Mickey 17, and it's a wonderfully realized and expertly acted movie. You owe it to yourself to check this one out. It is incredible.
Thank you for listening to Faster Film Critic. There was one film that dominated at the 97th Academy Awards this year, and that was Anora by Sean Baker. It won Best Film Editing, Best Original Screenplay, Best Director, Best Actress, and Best Picture. We are excited to talk about this award-winning film next week. You can also follow us on Letterboxd, Cinetrack, and Instagram. Email us at fasterfilmcritic@gmail.com. Hit us up with any questions, comments, feedback, or review requests, and please share this episode with your movie-loving friends.